Adam, the Colorado Buffaloes are returning home this week after being at the Rose Bowl last week, and a tough loss. Good effort from the defense. The offense obviously struggled against a very good UCLA defense, but they are back home. Another tough game against Oregon State, and we're going to get more into that later in the week. But we were able to talk to Coach Prime today, and he talked about. Really, the theme of today was a lot of going back to Saturday and the theft that happened at the Rose Bowl. Shiloh Sanders hit the targeting call, things like that. What were your thoughts on talking to Coach Prime and also Shilo today?
Well, it's unfortunate that took place. It did sound like UCLA was robbed as well. So, this wasn't directed just at Colorado, but it's another time with UCLA. They had a locker room situation here way back in the day when Jim Mora was the head coach, where they trashed the locker room here. So it's just unfortunate. As Coach Prime said, when you go to the Rose Bowl and you're out there balling, that shouldn't be something that you have to think about or worry about. And so it sounds like going forward they're going to have their own security, so this won't be an issue going forward. But unfortunate. And the main takeaway I had from Coach Prime's press conference was his meeting with the offensive line, which is what that group probably needed after Saturday. There's a lot of criticism out there, and rightfully so, because that was one of the hardest rewatches I've had of a Colorado game. Mm-hmm. When you see a quarterback that is as talented as Shador and he can't get to his first option, that's just got to get fixed. But at the same time, if you're Coach Prime, you have to approach this with put your arm around these guys. You got 4 games left. Get their confidence up. To me, that's a group that their confidence is shattered right now. At least that's the way it looks like they're playing football right now. And so I think that's what you have to do if you're Coach Prime in this situation. And we'll see if that results in a bounce-back effort. The cornerbacks for Colorado were pretty awful in the second half against Stanford. They had a bounce-back effort. There's not as much talent on the offensive line as there is at cornerback here in Colorado's program. Yeah. So we'll see. But that was the approach I think you had to take.
Yeah, but a lot of that criticism and the most vocal criticism has come from Coach Prime. His press conference the other day was, hey, we got to go get new linemen, and it's basically calling them out saying, we got to go get new people. That's how we fix this thing. And I think he was probably the right one to go put the arm around and say, look, here's why we need guys. Here's why I said that, and I don't know what he said to those guys, but, I think it helps to hear from him. Here's where I'm coming from, and that group certainly they need to be loved up a little bit, but they got to play better, and that's the bottom line, and that's probably the approach you take. There's that hard that hard thing to hear right after the game if you go back and watch the press conference, but to have him come back in and have that meeting, I think that was the right approach after his press conference, to kind of smooth that over a little bit. But bottom line is, like you said, that group has to play better, or else. What's to stop Oregon State, Arizona, everybody else from just teeing off on Shador, which teams have been doing? UCLA's doing what Colorado State did and what Oregon did and teams like that, and they know they can go after this Colorado offensive line and probably have success.
And one thing to add about Coach Prime's comments after the UCLA game, he did say we've got some guys with some seasoning that are going to be pretty good. So it's not like he said in that post-game press conference that we're going to clear out that entire room. We got to work with the guys that we have, grow them, and then bring in more talent. So I think there was that part of it as well. But, Mike Leach had a saying a number of years ago that, and he was speaking to the media, and he said, you guys want us to tell you the truth, and then you get mad when we do tell you the truth. And so I appreciate Coach Prime's candidness with the media and the fact that he's willing to say, we do need better offensive linemen, but it shouldn't get taken out of too much context in the sense that, like, he did say there's guys here that need seasoning, and they'll be pretty good players down the road.
Yeah, and he's been very complimentary of a guy like Savion Washington throughout the season, guys like that. So Tank, they've had, he's said a lot of good things about him as well. I think Van Wells is a good young player. I don't think they need an overhaul of 5 new offensive linemen, but they probably got to, develop some of those guys and maybe get 2-3 offensive linemen out of the portal. I think that's what this team needs going forward.
Yeah, it's the guard play, I would say, if you look at it. And Tyler Brown, you wonder how much of a difference he could have made this year if Tommy Brown decided he wanted to play another year of college football and
Casey Roddick stays.
Casey Roddick. Yeah. So, it's one of those hindsight's 2020 things that that guard situation is not ideal right now, and it's just tough for those guys. But you got who you have right now. You're not signing free agents with 4 games left in a college football season, so you got to put your arm around those guys and try to love them up and get them to play with confidence. You know, in the play calling could help with that too. We've I feel like, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you start to run the football a little bit and you get these guys' confidence going a little bit better too. Right now, the way this offense is being called makes it really difficult for an offensive line that's already struggling.
Yeah, and I've talked to so many linemen, I know you have too over the years, that they love to run block more than pass block, and that's what they would prefer. They've been on their heels a lot, and you know, last game, I know they didn't play very well, but I mean, there was only, until garbage time, you know, there was only, you know, 7 handoffs to running backs. So they're pass blocking the entire day. So that's tough. As far as the play calling goes, we know now that Alton McCaskill will not be a part of that running back rotation going forward. Coach Prime said that Alton came to him and said, "I'd like to redshirt," and you know, Coach Prime is behind that and said, "Let's do it." This has really been a lost year for Alton McCaskill. You know, obviously he didn't play last year with the injury, and then, you know, this is really a lost year. He's only had a few spot carries here and there. I thought he's looked good in those spot carries, but when you're a guy that almost rushes for 1,000 yards as a freshman, you don't want to waste a year on when you're getting 2 carries, you know, every couple of weeks. And so this is probably the right thing for him. Just get healthy, get ready for 2024. They like him, but you know, they need him fully healthy in 2024.
Yeah, and I think he probably gained something from the reps that he did get this year in terms of the recovery process. I have gotten questions, and it was a question that popped in my head, is that Alton McCaskill, the 4th, missed last season with the torn ACL. So he applied his red shirt then. I would imagine then, and we were talking before we hit record, that this is just a situation down the road that it will increase his chances of getting a medical red shirt.
Yeah, and I think it's most guys will get it. You know, if you have that second year that you didn't play, the way it's been explained to me in the past is if you redshirt, that's basically a year you didn't play. If you have 2 of those, then you can get that medical red shirt, and most guys get it. And so I think what this does is it gives him that opportunity that he now has three more years to play after this, most likely. Now, if he's the type of back that he thinks he is and that he showed it against or at Houston, he may not want to play 3 more years. He might want to go to the NFL, but at least this puts that option in his back pocket for down the road.
And he's got a lot of talent. He'd still, you put a gun to my head and ask me who their lead back is in 2024, I think I'm still going Alton McCaskill. And we've been strong proponents of what Hankerson can do, and I want to see him get more carries and more of an opportunity in this offense, because I think he could help things and take a little bit of that pressure off the offensive line from a pass protection standpoint. But McCaskill, there's something special when you watch his film and what he did at Houston. There's a kind of an Adrian Peterson-ness to his game, and it sounds like he's going to be patient, and that's what this program needs him to be. And coming back here next year, he should be a fun player and a key player for this offense next year.
Yeah, and one last thing before we get out of here, Shiloh Sanders talked a lot about the targeting call the other day. One clarification: he is not had to sit out at all this week. I mean, it's because it happens in the first half. All you do is sit out the rest of that game, and so he'll be back at the start of this game. But he basically said, "There's really not much more I can do. I'm not going to change the way I play." And you watch a lot of things, and some of those are called targeting, some are not. It's really just the ref's discretion, and he got caught that time.
Yeah, it was a vicious hit, and it just didn't look good aesthetically, right, to the refs. I've kind of gone back and forth, and I can see the incidental head contact being a reason for a penalty, but definitely should not have warranted him getting kicked out of that game when you put logic into the discussion, right? But how long has targeting been around? About 15 years now?
It's been a while.
There's nobody has a better grasp on this now than they did when it started. It really has been hard to put your head around what constitutes targeting on a consistent basis. And even Shilo brought up the hit on Travis Hunter. That's what you don't want. You don't want people going where you're not protected, and yet Blackburn didn't get ejected. So I don't know. Is a very long-winded way of saying I don't know.
Yeah, and it was actually brought up. Rob Gronkowski actually, tweeted it and said, "That's exactly where I want to be hit as a tight end in that situation." So he had NFL players backing him up, and it really comes down to, like Shilo said, there's sometimes that an official looks at it and says, "Ooh, that looks bad. I better call a penalty." And that's what really happened the other day. I mean, I initially thought that's a targeting. Then you go back and the more I watched, I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think that was just a really good football play, and more and more these days, really good football plays are being called penalties, unfortunately.
And Shiloh made it clear that he's not changing his style, so
Right.
we're going to see some more plays like that from him in a Buffs uniform this season, I would imagine.
He wants people to know about the headache, gang, that's for sure. He made that clear. So Adam and I will be back tomorrow with more analysis.